Good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting for Monday, September 18th, 2023. We will begin with a roll call and determination of quorum.
Bieberdorf. Maher.
Here.
Roberts.
Here.
Stroman.
Here.
Pettigrew.
Here.
Sechrist. Here. Lehman. Ham.
Here.
Evans.
Present.
Roseland.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next, we'll begin with an invocation. And tonight we have Josie Sorensen from Open Bible Church. And you're welcome to participate. And then following that, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. I'd just like to pray over tonight's meeting. So God, thank you for today. Thank you for loving us. God, I pray over the City Council and Mayor Solomon tonight. God, I pray they would have godly wisdom concerning decisions to make. I pray that the words spoken tonight would glorify you. Thank you for these leaders in our city. I pray blessings over them. In your precious and powerful name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, folks. Next, we'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. Got a motion by Roberts, second by Evans. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. To begin with, we're going to do a proclamation, so I'll be wrapping around here in the front. Just a moment. Okay, yesterday, if you didn't know, was Constitution Day, and so we are going to have an executive proclamation for Constitution Week. So whereas September 17th, 2023 marks the 236th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas the Constitution has guided our growth, shaped our progress, and defined us as a nation of sacred laws and fundamental values. And whereas the Constitution is the bedrock we build upon to make our nation more equal, more just, and more prosperous for all our people. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate this occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Jason Solomon, by virtue and authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Rapid City, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, and ask all citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution that they had in mind in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through the guardian of our liberties, remembering that the lost rights may never be regained. Thank you. All right. I feel like I should do a song, like carry this around. Okay, next we'll go into general public comment. This is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. I do have a handful of speaker request forms, so when I call your name, you just come on up to the microphone. You have 3 minutes. The yellow light lets you know you have 30 seconds to go. And we will begin with Mia Rivera.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak. Mr. Evans, thank you for supporting our mission to end housing insecurity in Rapid City. You are the only vote in favor of the Hope Center's relocation, and that speaks volumes about your character. It's never easy going against the grain. It's always much easier to follow the masses, but that's not what brings about change, is it? Thank you for having the courage to help when nobody else will.
Thank you. Next, we have Annie Bashan.
My name is Annie Bashand. I represent Liberty and Justice for All. We're an organization of more than 500 people in less than 3 months. I come today to stand before you to address this pressing issue that strikes at every heart of our very humanity, the immorality of militarizing homelessness and the lack of shelter. People who are without shelter are at a crisis in our communities and throughout our country. It affects millions of individuals and families around the world, and as we know, in our own community. And it's a problem that should evoke our compassion and collective efforts to find a humane solution. Militarizing homelessness, though, is not just a policy failure, it is a moral failure. It represents a misguided approach that not only fails to address the root causes of homelessness, but exacerbates the suffering of individuals who are already vulnerable. When we militarize homelessness, we deploy police and security forces, park rangers, to treat individuals experiencing homelessness as if they were criminals. We remove them from public places, confiscate their belongings, and sometimes even arrest them simply for not having a place to call home, a shelter. This not only violates their basic human rights, but perpetuates a cycle of trauma and instability, and should, somewhere down deep inside of all of our hearts, violate our own morality. We must remember that behind every person experiencing homelessness is a unique story, a life that has been faced by challenges, hardships that we often will never fully comprehend. These people are our fellow human beings. Last week, we had a mayor in our community decide to attend the rally of a twice impeached, under 91 indictment abomination in our community. And yet, the best that we can come up with is militarizing our homeless and fighting against the Hope Center. You know, many of you know, I've been sober for 30 years. When you're out on the streets and the best solution you have is to have one more drink or meth or whatever that is, that mind changer is, you're doing your best to make your life better. I see the red lights up. I hope that we find our morality at some point within our community. Thank you.
Next up, we have Riley Matheson.
Hello, my name is Riley Matheson. I'm also with Liberty and Justice for All. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed leaders in our community and organizations, I stand before you today to highlight the significance of Tuesday, September 19th as National Voter Registration Day, and to urge each one of you to take an active role in spreading this crucial message among your friends, family, and within your respective organizations. Our collective efforts can make a profound impact on the health of our democracy. Research increasingly shows that civic engagement is closely linked to improved health status. The Health and Democracy Index, developed by the Healthy Democracy, Healthy People, underscores this connection, demonstrating that states with more inclusive voting policies and higher levels of civic participation tend to have healthier populations. Participating in the electoral process, whether through voting or encouraging others to register, is a form of civic engagement that directly influences our well-being. Studies conducted across 44 countries, including the United States, have revealed that voter participation is associated with better self-reported health, even after accounting for various individual and country-specific factors. Conversely, individuals who abstain from voting tend to report poorer health outcomes in subsequent years. Today, we reach out to you as leaders in our community and within our organizations to disseminate information about National Voter Registration Day. We implore you to remind everyone in your circles to take the following crucial steps. Check your voter registration information. Ensure your voter registration details are up to date. Update your information if you've moved. If you have relocated since the last election, it's imperative to update your voter registration information accordingly. Encourage your friends and family members to register to vote. Your influence can inspire those around you to engage in this vital civic duty. National Voter Registration Day stands as our nation's most significant nonpartisan civic holiday, dedicated to the mission of registering every eligible American voter for their next election. On this day, organizations spanning from Fortune 500 companies to local food banks and public libraries unite for a nationwide democracy blitz. Together, we aim to create widespread awareness of voter registration opportunities through in-person and virtual events, as well as digital, social, and traditional media outreach. Every year, millions of our fellow Americans find themselves unable to vote due to missed registration deadlines, outdated information, or a lack of knowledge about how to register. National Voter Registration Day, celebrated every September, strives to ensure that each one of these Americans has an opportunity to register before the next election, regardless of their political affiliation. For those residing in South Dakota, you can access voter registration information at vip.sdsos.gov. If you live outside South Dakota, you can visit nationalvoterregistrationday.org for state-specific registration guidelines. In closing, I want to express my gratitude for your commitment to sharing this vital information. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Andrea Leese.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, both in front of me and behind me, for listening. I did bring several packets for anyone who'd like a handout of what I'm about ready to read. So to the members of the board and mayor, I stand before you in hopes you will reconsider the votes against the projected donated site for the Hope Center. I am hurt to hear this permit was not approved. I spoke with one member of the board from each ward. Some of you hid behind your votes and some began to change their thoughts. Then Bill Evans from Ward 2, his beliefs and passion that all people should be treated equally was touching. I was homeless a long time ago. I only wish there was a great resource for me when I was down and out. Recently, I visited the Hope Center. I spoke to many wonderful people where I witnessed that the Hope Center provides resources for clothing, case management, laundry, mail, and other things. Those are just a few. How many of you visited the Hope Center? Those who look to our Hope Center for help are trying to better their lives, sometimes one moment at a time. Last I knew, our community was a giving and passionate city. I'm starting to lose faith in the leaders that we look upon. Every person in Rapid City is a person, not a class of people. You don't have the right to treat others less because you might have a job, a home, a car, and money. With the Hope Centers potentially closing, people will be out of work or unable to have the experience of volunteering at a wonderful place. Potentially, you're putting them on the streets. Where are 200 plus people supposed to go? There are several buildings that are commercially zoned. The building in question is zoned general commercial. Why can't the city help the Hope Center acquire a building if the one that was donated is not to your standards? There are 3 shelters in town, along with the Hope Center, which only services the homeless during the day, is part of a team to help fight homelessness in our community. I did come with some projected buildings that I found online that are for rent or for sale. I just wanted that to be known. Those are all those. I think there's like 10 or 11. Another thing I'd like to bring up here, if I have another minute or two, is the vision from the Office of the Mayor and City Council. The vision: we envision Rapid City to be a vibrant community where all citizens can prosper and enjoy our quality of life. Mission: to serve Rapid City with integrity and excellence. Integrity, a definition: the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. Excellence, an outstanding feature or quality. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you. Next, Christine Carey.
Mayor and Council, first I want to say I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Christine Carey. I'm a family nurse practitioner and the Associate Medical Director at the Community Health Center of the Black Hills. Through my work, I get the opportunity and privilege to sit and listen to the stories of some of Rapid City's most vulnerable people. Recently, the Council voted against the Hope Center relocating to 630 East Boulevard North, the location that was gifted to them. I was taken back when I replayed the City Council meeting from September 5th. The meeting started off with a prayer, asking God for insight and that decisions would be made with wisdom, compassion, and a clear vision. It's human nature for people to want to be seen and heard. This vulnerable population needs that even more. They need to know that they are seen and that they matter. The Hope Center helps to do that. The Hope Center does not just help the homeless, they help anyone in need. They provide mail services, access to phones, messages, access to laundry, hygiene packs, socks, shoes. Were previously a hosting spot for many classes and community meetings. Homelessness and poverty are issues nationwide. Rapid City accounts for 16% of the population of South Dakota, and 39% of the state's homeless population resides here. Elevate recently released a report on housing in Rapid City, and it was truly astonishing. The average monthly rent for August was $1,213 for a 1-bedroom apartment. This means a person would need a monthly wage of $4,332.14, or an hourly wage of $24.99 an hour. Right now, over 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and inflation will continue to make that worse. We're all at risk of facing poverty and even homelessness. Lastly, I wanted to share a brief story. I'll preface it by saying that I got permission from his wife and the Hope Center to share it. So almost 6 years ago, this man walked into my office. His name's Robert. During our visits over the years, he shared many things with me. He was placed on a bus in Utah and sent one way to Rapid City. He had struggles with alcohol abuse and housing being 2 of them. He always attended his appointments, and he worked with me to get himself in better health. He started volunteering for Fork Grill Cafe, and then eventually the Hope Center. Within a brief time, he was part of the paid staff there. And on August 9th, 2022, he came to see me. It was the best I'd ever seen him. He was happy, laughing, recently married, and hopeful. We talked about how we wanted to change the world. Tragically, a few hours after our appointment, he drowned at Angostura. This is just one story of how the Hope Center has made a positive impact. He was so proud of what the Hope Center does and so grateful that he got to be a part of it. I know if he were alive today, his heart would be hurting due to the threat of the Hope Center potentially having to close their doors. In closing, if the council does not feel that 630 East Boulevard North is the right place for the Hope Center, then I feel it's the council's responsibility to step up and help us find somewhere where they can go. Just remember that these people that we talk about are someone's mother, father, sister, brother, daughter, son, and could just as easily be any one of us. Thank you.
Next up, Adrienne Epp.
Hello, it's good to be back again. Today, I'd like to address the cycling infrastructure within the city, or rather, the lack thereof. There is almost nothing for good cycling infrastructure. With the notable exception of the path running along Rapid Creek, there is almost no accommodation for people who want to use cycling as their daily commute. We cannot treat these people as though they are second-class citizens. We should value that form of transportation as much as car infrastructure. Cycling has the potential to move more people more efficiently than cars because they take up less space, both on in the like roads and wherever the paths are going to be, and also where the bikes are stored. Parking takes up massive amounts of space within this city, massive amounts of valuable space. If we were to accommodate cycling infrastructure, we could better utilize many of these spaces, and we could allow for more variety of people to have access to the whole city. I said last time, and I will say again, the cost to enter society should not be the cost and maintenance of a car. If we want to provide affordable housing to people, you need to provide an affordable city. If you provide an affordable house, that's great, but then these people need a car to get around, and that is an incredible financial burden. Both the purchase of the car and then the maintenance of the car. There is the gas, there is repairs, there is insurance. This is not something that should be placed upon every single citizen within the city. We need to accommodate everyone. Now, if you're thinking that cycling is not viable because of winters and things like that, there was a 2018 study that showed that cycling during the winter barely decreased because of snow or because of temperature. It was all because of the maintenance done on cycling paths. If the roads were not maintained, you could not easily get around in your car, and this is the same with bikes. We need to accommodate cycling infrastructure within this city. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Joanne Silbernagel. Joanne, my name gets mispronounced all the time, so you're welcome to correct me.
I'm used to it too.
Silbernagel?
Yes.
All right.
And thank you for letting me have a few minutes here. I'm a retired senior, and I do Meals on Wheels, and I have a big concern about Clock Tower Plaza evicting residents that are in their 70, 80, 90-year-old residents, and they're being evicted, and it was by letter. There was no reason, but they were told if they were not out by their 30 days, they would be forcible entry, would be made, and eviction action would be commenced. There was no reason for the eviction. The letter stated that the client elected to exercise its option to terminate their lease. First, these are 70, 80, 90-year-old residents. They lived their whole life, paid their own bills. They lived here and supported Rapid City by paying their taxes, productive, upstanding citizens who worked hard their whole lives to pay their own way. Is this how we want to treat our fellow mankind? Why can we not evict people from our homes when we rent them out to people and there's evidence of good, visible reason that they should be? It's impossible to find housing for these people in 30 days. I've been doing my best. I've called multiple places. And if you don't have family, which one of these 70-plus-year-old ladies does not, I don't know how she's supposed to find. She can't get on the computer. She doesn't have a computer. Every place wants you to do all this stuff on the computer or hire an attorney. Yeah, right. Anyway, we all need to do our part, whether it be making restrictions on building permits. I don't know what the answer is. Put something into law to protect our elders, veterans, limited income people. There are many vacant buildings, as you've heard earlier, in this town that I feel could be easily remodeled into comfortable housing. Not everyone needs elite, high-class housing. They just want a warm, comfortable place to live where they shouldn't have to worry about being evicted by a letter presented to them. Are we going to let our city follow the trend happening in other parts of our country? It does not sound or feel like how America should be treating the less fortunate. Thank you.
Thank you. Kylie Kohler? Or Kohler? Kohler, okay.
Hello, I'm Kylie Kohler. I live in Prairie Acres Trailer Park. We have given a letter that states that everyone doesn't give the same rules. We haven't gotten a lease. They haven't been following what they're supposed to do for a job. It is a business, and I understand that, but we haven't gotten a lease since they bought the trailer park. We haven't gotten any rules. Everyone's been given different rules. The issue is, I'm a college student. I can't afford to fix all these demands that they want. It's gonna cost too much. The issues are time. I mean, I go to School of Mines, I go to WDT, I'm a mom. I do not have time to redo my whole siding. They really want vents, and they want a back wooden staircase, and they want like trim all fixed, and they want this and that, and like there's nothing wrong with my house. And it doesn't guarantee that if I fix all these things that there's not gonna be more issues. They've been giving people eviction notices, and they've been evicting like over half our park. There's people who are workers, students, families, and they're asking for very high demands. They asked a couple of the neighbors that they needed house insurance for a trailer park. They asked for gutters on a trailer. They've asked for all these things, and a lot of us can't afford it, or they're literally, I have to have this done by October 27th. I have to have a statement of all of these 14 things and when they're gonna be done. And it has to be done by December 15th. I'm sitting here wondering what rights, what laws do I have, because when I go onto you guys' websites, there is no protections for trailer park owners. My trailer is a 1967. I cannot move it. It is structurally, I can't move it. It's supposed to be grandfathered in. I don't have any protection for myself. There is no protections for trailer park owners. We are treated like renters. And I'm sitting here asking today for regulations and maybe different rules than renters for a trailer park, because there is none. Other than that, thank you.
Thank you. Next, Joanne Kohler.
Hi, my name's Joan Kohler, and I live in the same trailer park, and I've been evicted. Where do I go? What do I do? I have nothing. I'm retired. Been living out there for just about 40 years. Raised 4 kids. They're all productive citizens. Her husband is my son. Lives in the same court. He owns his home. I own mine. We're kicked to the curb. What do you do? Can we find answers? New people from Oregon bought this trailer court. And now this is the fourth different owner in the last 40 years. Every 10 years, it's a new owner. They come in, all new rules, all new regulations. Nobody knows what they are. Everybody's got a different, told something different. Don't know what to do. Can't do it. I can't. They want me up on a ladder at 65 painting my trailer. What are you supposed to do when you're on Social Security? You can't pay to have somebody come in and do it. Where do you go? What do you do? I am homeless as of the 30th. I have called. There's a waiting list. Try and get on housing, try and get apartments. Everything's a waiting list. What do I do? Live in my car. Thank you.
Lastly, we have Cody Terry.
Now I'm really choked up. My son lives there also. He's been there 3 years. All we've done is upkeep that place and make it look nice. We put a new roof on it last year. We painted it. This is without them asking. Now they want a 12-inch border of rock around my son's trailer, or he's evicted. Where does this stop? This is not right. They own their homes. He was on the news recently, and since then, we have reported to the Attorney General what is going on. I feel like they have harassed my son. They gave him a violation the other day, stating they don't have proof of his insurance or his title, but none of that is in the lease. He has never been late on his rent. He has never broken any laws there. I don't understand it. Ever since this out-of-state investor came in, their response to this is that it's fire code. But yet I called the fire department and they said, and I sent them the list that they gave my son. They said none of that has to do with fire code. None of it. It's all cosmetic. Again, where are these people's rights? Why don't they just do the right thing? That's what I don't understand. Why are these people out there, elderly, fixed income, trying to fix these places up, and it's all in vain? They're making them leave anyways. Drive through there. You'll see that. Their own place isn't even held to those standards. My son's place, I gave you the photos, looks better than theirs. They don't have a 12-inch border. They made my son go out there and paint, even though their shed already matched his home. It was white, his trim is white. They want it gray. They were out there taking pictures of my son's house the other day, close-up pictures, and harassing him. This is not okay. I'm sure I'm probably close to running out of time, but I have a lot to say. Like I said, this is retaliation at its finest right now. And you all need to step in, because not only did they buy that one, but they're in the process of buying others, and they're building new homes. So they're profiting. Not only that, but they've raised their rent 70% in less than 13 months. That is a lot. Thinking of people that are homeless, you guys are gonna have a lot more homeless coming up. That's what I have to say about that. You might wanna let them open that Hope Center. I don't know, there's a lot more I wanted to say, but now I'm just all, with hearing her just broke my heart, and I hope that you guys can see that. After all, you guys give these people this business, correct? And building permits. That's what I don't understand, but yet nobody wants to do anything about anything. What am I teaching my son that saved up $8,000 to buy his mobile home and live out on his own? And us and my husband working on that place, tearing out all the flooring. You should see how beautiful the inside of my son's place looks. And guess what? They can evict him on a 30-day lease for no reason and take his home, because there's nowhere to move it. We just put a $1,500 deck on his home. They get to keep that. They get to keep everything. Please, Make a change for these people and the homeless. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes general public comment. Next, we're going to go to non-public hearing items, items 2 through 27. We're going to open public comment for items 2 through 22. We do have a public comment for item number 4 from Adrian Epp.
I'm back. I wasn't originally intending to speak on this, but then when I saw this on the agenda items, I figured I had to. $19 million for the Sheridan Lake Road reconstruction project. That's barely the length of a block. $19 million. I know it's to address growing traffic concerns, but there are better ways of doing that. There are better ways of doing that. Your engineers who recommended this to you, they're working on an outdated playbook. You need to look at alternative forms of transportation. If it's, this is about moving people from one place to another. Widening the road is a Band-Aid on this. It's not going to fix it. Because what, 10 years down the road, you're going to look, oh, well, we need to widen it again. We need to spend another 19 million or more to widen this. It's frankly ridiculous. You need to look at how public transit can be used to get people through there. A more efficient way of getting people through there. Use bus, use a streetcar or light LRT, light rail transit, or use cycling paths. There is better ways of moving people than to widen a road, add one more lane, one more lane. One more lane will fix it, one more lane. It's not going to fix it. It never has. We need to challenge the status quo. This project is a mistake, but you can stop it, and you can use that money more efficiently to do better in this city. Thank you.
And that is all for the speaker request forms for consent items 2 through 22. We will now move on to the consent items 2 through 22 that the council wish to remove any items from the remaining balance. Councilor Stroman, we're gonna. Are you there?
Yep.
I think you're good. All right.
Thank you, Mayor. 4, 8, 9, and 10.
4, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Any other members wish to remove any items here? With that, I'll take a motion to approve the remaining balance. A motion by Roseland, second by Sechrist to approve the remaining balance with the exception of 4, 8, 9, and 10. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Next, we'll go to item number 4. Authorize staff to advertise for bids for Sheridan Lake Road reconstruction project to Corral Drive to Catron Boulevard. Project number 23-2737 and CIP number 51122.2. Estimated cost of $19 million. Mr. Stroman?
Thank you, Mayor. May I address the Public Works Director?
Yes, sir.
Dale, we just heard from a concerned citizen about the Sheridan Lake construction. I wonder if you could give us a brief rundown of why you think that is, or why the city believes that's a necessary project, and what's going to happen with that. I know we've been through this several times, but I just ask that you indulge me in light of that comment. Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Public Works Director Dale Tech.
Thank you, Mayor. That's a great question, Alderman Stroman. Certainly in our growing community, some of our roads have reached capacity, and that's certainly the case with this section of Sheridan Lake Road. We anticipate the capacity to double on this roadway, and the current configuration will not allow for that further demand on the roadway. So this project is absolutely necessary to safely convey our motorists to and from work, and especially to the Corral Drive School as well as the Southwest Middle School.
Mr. Stroman?
Okay, and Dale, as far as the schedule for the construction, I know that you and the contractor have been putting out regular updates. I appreciate that, but just could you give us a rough sketch of what's happening and why we're seeing this on the agenda tonight?
Yeah, that's also a great question. We bid a project that's currently ongoing right now, and that is all work behind the back of the curb, and that is a approach that we took to improve constructability of the entire roadway. Typically, when you go in and reconstruct a road and have to do all the utilities at once, along with the roadway, that is a long construction season. So the project we have currently underway is to do all the work behind the back of the curb. So when it's time to replace the pavement, we can just go in and replace the pavement. The project you see out there today will end next spring, and then we'll start a construction project, I believe, next year for the pavement. And that will likely be a long construction season in the year 2024. So that's the timeline that we have for this project.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have, and no more comments.
Okay.
Yield.
Thank you. And next we'll go to Councilman Bill Evans.
Thank you. I happen to completely agree with Mr. Epp. I know there's been a lot of discussion for months about this project and the overall cost. This represents 7% of our annual budget for the city. Now, this may fix, or we don't have any idea if it will fix it or not, because it's kind of more of the same in terms of trying to throw a solution together. But there's about 2 hours maximum, maybe only an hour and a half a day that this is even a problem. And I have a really hard time justifying spending 7% of the city budget to fix a 2 hour a day problem that affects less than, I don't know, 10% of the people in the town. That just seems like a really stupid way to do business. And if you ran your business that way, you'd go broke. So I'm going to be voting against this. Thank you.
Thank you. See no more speaker request forms. So do we have a motion on this item? Motion to approve? Okay. Motion to approve by Maher. And a second by Bieberdorf. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Aye.
Okay, we got, that's 2 nays, I believe. Okay, with Pettigrew on the line. Thank you, sir. Motion passes 8-2. Next, we'll go to item number 8, authorize mayor and finance director to sign agreement between the city of Rapid City and FMG Engineering, Inc. for professional services for the utility maintenance professional services agreement for service lines and locates transition to GIS project number 23-2762, CIP number 51357 in the amount of $425,000 and $515,000. Sorry, I cannot speak tonight. Mr. Stroman, I believe you asked to pull this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, could I go back to Public Works Director Dale Tech, please?
Absolutely.
Dale, I saw that this was presented by the Assistant Public Works Director at the Public Works meeting, so I hope I'm not catching you off guard, but I just was needing a little more understanding of what we're doing in number 8 and 9. I see that we're contracting out with another engineering firm on both of these. And I'm not understanding what is being done for this.
Mr. Tech.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's a great question, Alderman Stroman. A lot of records that the city has had, certainly over time, are utility records or old paper records. This project is to get all of this information loaded into a digital database, if you will. That helps with the inventory of what we have on hand, as well as be able to plan maintenance better. There will be a presentation at a future Public Works and Legal and Finance meeting about some requirements from the state of South Dakota that are going to be coming down. And this type of database is necessary for us to properly manage the mandate coming from the state. Actually, it's coming from the EPA through the state. But to have a digital record inventory of what we have on hand for utilities as well as the service lines is going to be a necessity due to that mandate.
You're still on the queue. Or less. Okay.
So, so basically we have the information, but it's in old records, is that it? And then we're putting it into a new format to meet state and federal requirements?
That's correct.
Is there some special expertise that this outside engineering firm has that allows them to do that, or would we have the capability in-house to do that?
We do not have the capability in-house. They have, FMG Incorporated has registered land surveyors with very specific specialized surveying equipment that's necessary for this job. It would be a significant investment for the city to procure that equipment, as well as hire licensed folks to run it.
Okay, and then number 8 kind of goes with number 9. Is that what I understood correctly from the Public Works meeting?
That is correct. Number 8 actually is more for the service line type, and number 9 is for the would be the water mains themselves. So 2 different efforts really that are parallel.
Is there a deadline that the state or the EPA has given you on when this needs to be digitized?
There is no deadline yet, but we anticipate as their rules advance, there will be a time where this will be required to be done. We're just trying to get ahead of the game.
Okay, and then lastly, how is this information used once it's digitized, and how frequently is it utilized?
It's actually utilized every day. Our folks out in the field, if they're responding to, let's say, 911 or 811 calls, call before you dig, this information will be invaluable to be able to go out and accurately locate service lines and water mains to reduce the potential for hits by contractors or other utility companies, as well as if somebody's having an issue with their water or water service line, it will give our maintenance crews the ability to go out there and quickly respond and know the exact location of the service line.
Okay, thank you, sir. I have no more questions. I just have a comment. I just feel like with 8 and 9, we're talking about over $650,000 to basically transfer information, as I understand it, transfer information that we already have into a different format, and I think that's excessive, and I would like to see a different approach to this than hiring this outside firm to do that. So that's all I have.
Next, we'll go to Councilor Seacrest.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to ask Mr. Tech for a couple of clarifications on this as well. And maybe you said this and I missed it, so I apologize, but how is our data currently managed?
It's a combination of digital and paper records. We have what's called a card file, and it is exactly as it sounds. They're individual cards with a hand-drawn map that show the location of most of the service lines. We've, in the last number of years, have got a process in place, which is actually developed by this company we are hiring to update newer ones, but certainly all the old ones need to be updated.
Okay, thank you. And I was also going to see if you could clarify, on the agenda, it does say that this is in preparation of the city's lead and copper rule program. Is that what you were talking about, the state's EPA recommendations?
Yes, it is.
And so that's just not something I've ever read about or have any knowledge of. So do you want to speak to that?
No, we'll have a formal presentation that we'll be giving at both the Public Works and Legal and Finance Committee meeting, I think, the next round, so next week.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And next, go to Councilor Evans.
Yeah, I feel strongly, as Mr. Stroman does, about this particular thing. I just cannot believe that this stage of the game, we're hiring out somebody to come in and transfer the data at a cost of $600,000. I'm thinking of how we could do that if we had staff people of our own that were doing that with the expertise, a particular person to do that. It could be done more cheaply. Could a crew be hired over the course of 3 years to do that, and they're employed by the city? It just seems so excessive. I mean, and this money just rolls off people's fingers like it's a bottomless pit. And it's tiresome seeing always hiring everything out. Don't we have any experts within our own staff that does these things? And I mean, it's been a frustrating thing to watch over the last 4 years because it just keeps happening and happening. And I honestly don't believe every city works like this. I just don't think it's possible because there's so much money being spent on these kind of expenses, and we're not changing our mode of operation ever. We just continue to do it that same way. So I don't know where I'm going to come down when they call the vote, yes or no. I know it needs to get done. I just don't know as we've explored other ways of doing it. Just like Mr. Epp said about this particular interchange. Yeah, it costs that much to do it that way. But maybe there's another way to do it and stop doing it the same way. You know, you don't like driving through that intersection? Buy a house someplace else, you know? That's kind of how I think. So we need to start investigating options in the future rather than always coming down the pike with the same solution to everything, and that's hiring it out to an outside expert. I wouldn't do it that way. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak on item 8? Okay, with that, we'll take a motion. Got a motion to approve by Sechrist and second by Ham. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. 1 no by Councilor Stroman. Motion passes. Item 9, authorize Mayor and Finance Director to sign an agreement for professional services between the City of Rapid City and FMG Engineering, Inc. for Water System Survey Project 1, project number 23-2767, CIP number 51407, in the amount of $231,600. Do we have a motion? Got a motion by Ham and a second by Bieberdorf to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion passes 1 no from Stroman. Item 10. Authorize Mayor and Finance Director to sign 2024-2026. Whoops, that was 2024 through 2026. It's been a long day, folks. Title VI program as required by FTA to receive federal transit grant funds, and I believe Councilor Stroman, you pulled this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Oops. Thank you, Mayor. Dale is the traffic or the transit person here, or are you going to respond to that, or?
No, our transit division manager is not here. I'll do my very best to answer any question you may have on this item.
Okay, so is this to redo the bus schedule or the routes or anything like that?
No, this has nothing to do with it. This is a Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, so we have to have policies in place and certify, I believe it's every 3 years, to the FTA that we, I believe, are doing things in a non-discriminatory manner. as far as operating our system. So this has nothing to do with the routes, certainly everything to do with the Civil Rights Act.
Is there something like that in the works to?
Yeah, this is something we do every 3 years. So we've got one in place. It's just time to update it.
No, I mean to rework the routes. And
Yes, actually, we'll be having an open house this Saturday, I believe, right out in front of Transit during the Pumpkin Festival. If you'd like to stop by and learn more about, it's not a guarantee that routes will change, but certainly we're in the investigation phase of that, and we'll be taking public input on that.
Okay. Will there be any other public input places like?
I believe there will be some other public meetings in the future as well.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. I'm sorry I didn't understand what was going on there, so I yield.
Good questions. Mr. Evans, will you chime back in? I think I actually took you out. Councilor Evans.
Thank you. Concerning this item with the routing, and I know this is not directly related to this, but we need to make sure we access the people that actually need the transit when we ask them where the routes need to go. I doubt if most of those people will be at the Pumpkin Festival. I don't think that's probably where they're hanging out. So before we reset the routes, and I think that has something to do with the civil rights thing, we've got to investigate where the people that need public transportation need to go, and we need to make sure that it's guaranteed it hits those spots so they get the service that they need, and maybe the ridership will go up as well. But we have to take, in this case, the mountain to Mohammed. We have to make sure that it goes to the people that are actually impacted by it. And I don't know if we're going to get a lot of input from those people at the Pumpkin Festival. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe I heard Mr. Texan as one of several input options. So with that, any other comments? Got a motion by Roberts, a second by Sechrist to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to the end of the consent items. We will now move to the non-consent items, items 23 through 27, and we will open public comment for items 23 through 27. I do have two speaker request forms, excuse me. First, item 25, we have Dustin Coleman. Mr. Coleman, you have 3 minutes. The yellow light means you have 30 seconds to go.
Thank you. Honorable members of the Rapid City City Council. I stand before you today as a proud member of this community and the owner of Coltec, a business that my wife and I relocated from New Hampshire to Rapid City 2 years ago, with a vision of contributing to our local economy and providing employment opportunities for our neighbors. I am deeply committed to the prosperity of Rapid City and the well-being of its residents. I'm here to request a sidewalk variance for our business, Coltec, which is located in an area currently lacking sidewalks. While I understand and appreciate the importance of sidewalk infrastructure for our safety and convenience of our community, I believe that in this specific circumstance, building a sidewalk at this time would constitute an unnecessary and burdensome expense that could potentially hinder our growth and job creation efforts. The decision to relocate our business to Rapid City was not taken lightly as we looked across the entire country. We saw the potential for growth, the welcoming community, and the opportunities for collaboration with our city offered. Since establishing Coltec in Rapid City, we have worked diligently to realize our vision. We have strived to be a responsible and responsive member of this community, not only by providing high-quality products and services, but also by actively participating in community events and supporting local initiatives. However, the proposed sidewalk requirement places substantial financial burden on our business, especially at a time when we are focusing on expanding our operations and creating more job opportunities. The costs associated with constructing a sidewalk to nowhere in an area where pedestrian traffic is minimal diverts resources away from our core mission of growth, job creation, and community involvement. Our commitment to this community is unwavering. We want to invest in Rapid City and contribute to its long-term prosperity. Nevertheless, I urge the council to consider the unique circumstances of our business location and that potential negative impact that the mandatory sidewalk construction could have on our ability to achieve our goals. Instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, I propose we explore alternative solutions that ensure the safety and accessibility of our area without imposing unnecessary financial constraints on our local business. In conclusion, I want to reiterate my dedication to Rapid City and my commitment to its growth and prosperity. I believe that by working together, we can find a solution that benefits our community and Coltec. I respectfully request that the council grant the requested sidewalk variance so that we can continue to focus on what we do best, creating jobs, serving our customers, and contributing to the success of Rapid City. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Next, on item 27, Adrian Epp.
You're seeing a lot of me today. Downtown doesn't have a parking problem. At least it's not the problem that everyone believes it to be. When people complain about parking, they mean that there isn't parking directly in front of their destination. There is always open parking within a few blocks, especially on Kansas City Street. To begin, we need to acknowledge that personal automobiles are very limited in their capacities. Most often, there is only one occupant per vehicle. Even if we are being generous and assuming 2 passengers per car, that's still not enough people being brought downtown. If you add more parking, you would be taking up valuable space for barely any extra foot traffic. I am not saying you shouldn't conduct a parking study. I'm saying that a parking study will give an incomplete picture. The question is simple. How do we maximize the number of people moving into and through downtown? To answer this question, we must address these 4 points. How can we use public transit? How do we accommodate cyclists? How do we make pedestrian spaces more appealing? Downtown is not welcoming for pedestrians. Stand in the middle of that 3-lane road and look down it. Look at it. Do it. I challenge you. Go look at these spaces. They are not pedestrian friendly. We have dedicated downtown to cars. And then the last part is, how do we improve the parking turnover rate? Public transit and cycling can move more people while taking up far less space. And improving pedestrian spaces will make downtown more appealing to visit and spend time in. This is vital for the businesses downtown. This is vital for such a valuable space in our city. Parking is wasted space. I'm not saying we should take away what we have now, but we shouldn't be considering adding any more, because downtown is for people. It's not for cars. We need to challenge the status quo. We need to challenge our way of thinking about transportation. We need to stop assuming that everyone should use a car to get around, because I would reckon over 25% of our city is dedicated to car storage. Over 5% of a car's life, only about 5% of a car's life is spent moving around. Most of it is spent just parked, doing nothing. It's in your garage, valuable home space. It's in a parking spot, valuable city space. This cannot be ignored. You must expand the scope of this study. Thank you.
And that is the final public comment of non-consent items. We will now close public comment and move on to item 23. Second reading of ordinance number 6589, an ordinance to amend section 9.28.050 of the Rapid City Municipal Code relating to discharging firearms.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Roberts, second by Maher to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
We got, the motion passes with a no from Evans and Pettigrew. Item 24. Second reading of ordinance number 6588, an ordinance to repeal Rapid City Municipal Code section 9.12.120, school grounds prohibited acts. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Roberts, second by Stroman to approve. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 25, a request from Jim Simler on behalf of Dustin Coleman for a variance to waive the requirement to install sidewalk along Jet Drive and Concourse Drive per city ordinance 12.08.060. The staff recommendation was to deny, but the recommendation is to approve the variance.
Motion to approve the variance.
Okay, we got a motion by Roberts, second by Maher, but we have Mr. Evans in the queue. Mr. Evans?
Yeah, I'd like to offer a compromise to this. I've received several calls on this, and the general consensus is that we keep, as Richie used to say, kicking the can down the road concerning these sidewalks. And in many cases, I've fought for the business people to get a variance because of their location. And many times on Deadwood Avenue, on St. Patrick Street, East St. Pat, and other places. I've even voted, probably incorrectly, along Jet Drive earlier this year. I would like to offer that we ask this business person to put the sidewalk on Jet Drive so we can get an east-west pedestrian pathway that is nearby the daycare center, nearby the school, nearby all these places where children are going to be walking in the future and connecting with the neighborhoods, and give the variance only on concourse. I think that's reasonable. I think it's fair. I think it treats the city well. I think it treats and takes into consideration the financial restraints of this business owner. But for us to keep offering variances when we keep claiming that we want to have sidewalks is no way to do business. So I don't know if anybody would be willing to support such a compromise and amendment, but that is what I'm going to offer right now. And I think Mr. Pettigrew wants to speak on this as well, if I'm not mistaken.
We got a queue of people, sir. We'll next go to Mr. Stroman.
Well, I was just going to make sure that Mr. Pettigrew got in. That's the only reason I see he's in there now. So
He's in.
I'm yielding to Mr. Pettigrew if that's okay.
All right, very well. Mr. Pettigrew, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As all of you know, I have very strong feelings on sidewalks. Specifically to this area, it was always zoned an industrial park. I don't know if that was correct or not. I don't know what the intent of that was. Maybe industrial parks don't need to have sidewalks, but an industrial park to me will have manufacturing, it will have an oil refinery, it will have a port. I just don't see any of those things happening out there. And the use has changed if it ever was an industrial park. The Seventh-day Advent have a school there. They have a daycare there. They have a church out there. There's a facility that provides gymnastics. The county just purchased a building that's going to be all office space. Respec is expanding. That's all office space. I just don't see why sidewalks aren't required out there. I've heard from other members of the council that they've been out there and no one's ever walking around. Well, if you don't have sidewalks, how are they supposed to walk around? My daughter worked at Green Tree for one summer, and she came home every evening, and she said at lunchtime, we'd like to go walking, but there's no sidewalks. And I think that space has changed dramatically. I would assume when someone is proposing putting a building up, and I have some experience in that, the cost includes sidewalks. So if they take the sidewalks out of the equation, they are saving money. It's not an expense they're not aware of. And I would encourage people who don't want to pay for sidewalks, don't put flooring in your building. Don't paint the walls. You are giving up safety. And I would encourage everyone to vote to at least require this sidewalk on Jet Street. That will set a precedence. And moving forward, everyone knows if they want to make changes out there, sidewalks are required. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will go to Councilor Roberts.
Thank you. And I'm going to take the exact opposite direction on this. I think that when a business has limited amount of funds to grow, I think that this is a good opportunity to save a little bit of money for them, especially in an area where the only sidewalk that's out there is the FBI building. And the school and the daycare are 2 blocks to the south. It's not like they're right across the street from this property. So I think this is a good opportunity to be able to put that money into something that will generate jobs in Rapid City. And, you know, unfortunately, as business owners, we don't have unlimited amounts of income, so sometimes we have to find ways to save a little bit of money here and there so we can go forward with these projects. So that's why I made the motion to approve this variance, and I hope it goes forward. Thank you.
Next up, Councilor Maher.
Well, I'd just like to say I worked in the Rushmore Business Park for 25 years in the two biggest buildings out there, on Turbine and on Concourse. And we had hundreds and hundreds of employees. I never received a complaint about not having sidewalks. There is not a lot of traffic out there during the day. There's a little bit of traffic in the morning when everybody's coming, and then around 5:30 when everybody's going home. So I think it's a very safe, clean business park, and I will be supporting this variance.
Okay, next, Councilor Sechrist.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make a comment on this. I appreciate Mr. Coleman being here today and speaking on his behalf. I certainly appreciate your situation, but I am not generally going to support sidewalk variances. I think it's really important that we establish a new council and we establish new precedents, and I think we have the right people here to do that. I do agree with Mr. Pettigrew. I've been out on site, actually went out there again today. I think it's absolutely appropriate to install a sidewalk on Jet Drive and would be in support of a compromise to not require the Concourse Drive. I don't think that makes sense at all. There are no existing sidewalks on Concourse Drive on either direction, but we do have the opportunity to provide infill development in between your property and the next door property. And in my humble opinion, I think we made a mistake by granting the previous variance down the road. I wasn't on the council then. Any cost we pass along now is a cost that the city will incur in the future. So my interest is in protecting the best interests of the city here. I just plan to remain really consistent with where I stand on sidewalk variances, so that's where I'm at. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we got Mr. Pettigrew coming back in. Sir, you got 1:45 remaining.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My last comment will be, when do we put the safety and the concern of the city? Because if we don't continue to enforce our sidewalk variance, the city will end up paying for these. So when do we put that interest ahead of the contractor's interest? It has gone on far too long where we grant every variance for a sidewalk, and it's got to stop. Public safety is number one, and by adding a sidewalk, it does add value to your property. If you go to sell that property and there isn't a sidewalk, the purchasing party will put that into their math and have to make the decision. If I buy this property, I may have to bear the cost of a sidewalk. So I'm going to vote to deny the variance request. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to Mr. Roseland, who's yet to speak. Oh. There you go, sir. I'm pressing it.
Don't touch it.
There we go.
You got mine on, talking to mine.
He's good. He's good.
I think it's tired. Yeah, I'm one of the new council members who really feel like sidewalks people should not be asking for variances for sidewalks. It's very, you keep hearing that the city will pay for the sidewalks in the future. I would think, hopefully, that in the future, as you grow, you would put in the sidewalks as you grow with the property owner, and hopefully not be have the city pay for sidewalks, which I have a problem. I don't think the city will pay for sidewalks. I would think it would be up to the owner of the property or the developer who's building in that area. So I'm kind of with Councilman Sechrist. I have this really hard feeling that I do not like to see variances on sidewalks, And I think it's about time for me to stick up to my rights and my feelings and vote no on the variance. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go to Councilman Evans with 2 minutes, 15 seconds remaining.
So this won't take long. I just want to remind the council members here, it is absolutely not our job as council people elected by the citizens of this city to save anybody money in their business. That should not even be a consideration. Our only consideration should be the safety of the citizens and the convenience of the taxpayers as residents in this community. So I just want to make sure we're not convoluting our mission here and what we're elected to do. So I will obviously not, I'm going to offer a compromise because I think that's reasonable. I think it's fair. I'm not hearing a lot of support necessarily, but I wish somebody would make that motion or an amendment to this particular thing and we could pass it that way.
Next, go to Councilor Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a substitute motion to approve the variance as to Concourse and deny the variance as to Jet Drive.
Got a motion by Stroman and a second by Ham. That is to approve the variance for Concourse Drive, but deny it for Jet Drive. Anything else you want to say, sir? We good?
Nothing.
All right. Next, we'll go to Councilor Roberts.
Maybe. Thank you.
You're good.
I just want to clear up one thing. There's kind of a fallacy going on this board that the city is responsible for these sidewalks in the future. We are not. We as a council, we can call in sidewalks at any time we want to. So if this council decides that sidewalks are that important, we could make up a list and call in 2,000 sidewalks in Rapid City if that's something you really wanted to do. So I just want to let you know that the city is not responsible for these sidewalks in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pettigrew, we are only allowed to chime in 2 times. You do have a few seconds left, so I'm going to give it to you this time, but just for future reference.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess my comments were, I was hoping someone was going to make the alternate motion, which they have. And in reference to Councilman Roberts' comments on the sidewalks, if the council would mandate that these sidewalks would go in, I will guarantee you the council chambers would be full of people, and the council would cave and not grant or not approve all the sidewalks going in. So it's easy to say that, but making it happen is a whole nother story. Thank you.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to approve the variance for Concourse only, deny the variance for Jet Drive. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Let's go to a roll call vote, please.
Do I get to say anything since it's changing?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Since it's changing, can I speak to it or?
I'll allow it.
I would just like to remind everybody that if we do allow it on Jet Drive, it will connect to nowhere. And so I know the city, I mean, you guys are approving a $19 million project along Sheridan Lake Road. I have cut every corner. You know, talk about not putting in floors. This is literally 3 walls and a concrete floor with no plumbing. It is a warehouse space. We had to do that in order to make this work for us financially at a $1.4 million, which I know maybe doesn't sound like a lot to you guys, but to us, this is the biggest project we've ever taken in our lives. And so yes, we are trying to save money, but it's because it won't be used because it will connect to nothing. So I just want to make sure everyone realizes there's not a sidewalk that will connect to this on any side. It will be a sidewalk to nowhere on all sides.
Okay. With that, we will now begin the voting process. Heidi, go ahead.
Bieberdorf? Maher?
No.
Roberts?
No.
Stroman?
Yes.
Pettigrew?
Yes.
Sechrist? Lehman? Sorry. Ham? Evans? Roseland? Motion passes 7-2.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to item 26, the second reading of ordinance number 6580 regarding FYI 2024 appropriation ordinance. Any motion? And a motion to approve, second by Evans. Motion by Roberts, second by Evans to approve. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 27, authorize staff to advertise a request for proposals to conduct a downtown parking study and strategic plan update. Staff recommendation was to approve, but it was recommended to send to council without recommendation. Councilor Stroman.
May I ask for a comment from the Development Director, Vicki Fisher?
Yes, Ms. Fisher. Director Fisher, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Alderman Stroman, for the conversation that we had on Friday. Staff did listen to the comments that were made by the Legal and Finance Committee meeting regarding the RFP that would be in an amount less than $100,000 to do an update to the parking study that was done in 2017. Just for a quick explanation, the study came forward after a short period of only 5 years because the IPS smart meters were significantly new. There was concern in the downtown community that we were flipping the script and that wasn't going to work, and there was a promise that we would come back and look at it within that 5-year frame. In the meantime, the city has sold the 2 surface parking lots, one to Block 5, and we're working on one to the property meld site. Those developments have not come about. When we had the discussion with the city council about the potential sale of that lot, we talked about the fact that there are currently over 200 available permit spaces within our downtown area. And looking at the location, staff, along with the Parking Advisory Board, did not feel that we had a parking situation that was of a deficit in the downtown core. It actually does make sense if we pause for just a moment before proceeding with the study to let Block 5 open their doors. And that would put it out at about a 2 years time frame. Staff and the Parking Advisory Board would not support that proposal if we didn't have all of the available parking that we have. Now, saying that, location is important. And as Councilman Stroman disclosed when we had the discussion about the stock growers lot, location is everything. And if it is the intent of the council to put the sale of the stock growers lot into the Parking Enterprise Fund, that would give us the availability to look in that same area for other surface parking availabilities, because it isn't only identifying that we have sufficient parking, but ensuring that the location is right. In 2 years' time, when we come back, I will eagerly accept the support of the City Council as we finalize a true parking analysis. In the meantime, our Parking Advisory Board, who is well-versed with parking, has in my opinion, the best liaison from council sitting on that board, which is Councilman Pettigrew. He is well-versed in parking. He is very eager and aggressive in assisting us. We've had some one-on-one discussions. We look forward to working with him. We'll be bringing him into some of the discussions that we're having with our downtown group as to where we need to go in the future. Lastly, and my apologies for taking so much time, there's data that we can collect with a new software program that is available for the IPS meters. It's a sensor program. We actually purchased it already. The first software failed. They're working on it, testing it out in a few other cities. We anticipate that they'll get the glitches out. What that will be able to tell us is for every IPS meter, how long during that day it's open, how many users use the spot during the day, what that changeover is, and do we have employees using customer parking because the rates are so low, which will all help us to make better decisions going forward. So with that, if it is the desire of the City Council to postpone this for about 2 years, we could table the request tonight and then come forward in 2 years and see where we're at in order to finalize the study.
All right, we're going to take it back to Mr. Stroman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Vicki. I'm going to move to table this particular item.
All right, we got a motion by Stroman, a second by Roberts to table. There's no discussion on a tabling item, so we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion passes with 1 no from Pettigrew. Well, okay. Mr. Pettigrew, did you vote yes to table the item or no?
Yes.
Yes to table the item. Got you. So the motion passes unanimously. Very well. Okay, that will take us, thank you all very much. That will take us to public hearing items 28 through 39. There's nothing there, and so we will open and close public comment and move to consent public hearing items 28 through 33. Would the council wish to remove any items on the consent?
Second.
Got a motion by Roberts, second by Stroman to approve the remaining balance. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Yep. That will take us to the end of the consent public hearing calendar. We will begin the non-consent public hearing items 34 through 39. A second reading of ordinance number 6581, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by KTM Design Solutions, Inc. for Millstone LLC for a rezone request from Light Industrial District to General Commercial District for property generally described as being located at 1002 West Main Street. Got a motion by Roberts to approve, second by Sechrist. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 35, second reading of ordinance number 6582, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by Long Branch Civil Engineering, Inc. for ZCO Incorporated for a rezoning request from General Commercial District to Light Industrial District for property generally described as being located as 2214 Marlin Drive. Got a motion by Ham, second by Roberts to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. I know. Item 36, a second reading of ordinance number 6583, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by FMG Engineering for the Evangelical Lutheran Good Samaritan Society for a rezoning request from General Agricultural District to Medium Density Residential District for property generally described as being located west of City Springs Road.
Move to approve. Second.
Got a motion by Roberts and a second by Ham to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Learning my lesson. Item 37, second reading of ordinance number 6584, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by Donovan Broberg of ARC International for a rezoning request from General Agricultural District to General Commercial District for property generally described as being located at 1840 Fountain Plaza Drive. Got a motion by Ham, second by Roseland to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Second reading, ordinance number 6585, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by Donovan Broberg of ARC International for a rezoning request from Light Industrial District to General Commercial District for property generally described as being located at 1840 Fountain Plaza Drive. Motion by Roberts, second by Sechrist to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 39. Oh, is this for 39, sir? Okay. A second reading of ordinance number 6586, an ordinance amendment to create regulations for indoor shooting ranges by amending chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, and we will go to Councilor Evans.
I'm going to be voting no on this again, as I did at the Legal Finance, for the reasons I expressed, having been, I don't know, probably the only person in this room who actually had a murder in the family by firearms. And so we have a whole ranch full of them. That's where they stay. And I'm a little perplexed by actually the need for this, being as how we're currently under construction with one of the, I guess, a state-sponsored shooting range. So I frankly, I don't see any reason for this, especially in that particular location, which would better be served by another business that would create traffic between those other businesses. So I'm going to be voting no. Thank you.
Okay, next we'll go to Counselor Pettigrew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be voting no on this. I had a lengthy discussion with Kevin Anderson, the realtor representing the businessman wanting to open this up. And I'm not an anti-gun person, but I'm a safe gun person. And I just believe by having a shooting range within the city limits, and also this facility will also sell guns. It's just not a shooting range. They will sell guns as well. Does nothing but promote more sales of guns. And just so we are all on the same page and know the statistics, there are more guns in the United States than there are people. The number one cause of death for children in the United States is guns. It's not cancer and it's not a disease. My discussions with Kevin, I said I would support this if the owner of this would require that before anyone shoots a gun in here, in this place, that they sit down and watch a safety video on safe gun storage. I don't care if they've owned a gun for 2 weeks or 50 years. It's good education, and we all need to be reminded of the basics of gun ownership. Talking to our police chief, there are 124 guns stolen every year out of vehicles in Rapid City. They should have in their safety class, education on not to store your guns within your vehicle. I cannot support this in any way, shape, or form. The world's largest shooting range is going to be built between Sturgis and Rapid City. I do not see the need for a gun range within Rapid City city limits. So I will not support this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Counselor Roberts.
Thank you so much. I want to make a motion to approve and just hold for a second so I can make a couple of comments and maybe ask the owner a few questions if he doesn't mind.
Okay, we got a motion by Roberts. Do we have a second? Second. I think I heard Maher give a second. Your floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to say that I'm one of those people that has more guns in my home than I do have family members. So it's been part of family tradition for many, many, many years. You know, hunting in South Dakota, especially when you're a fourth generation Rapid Cityan, we take our Second Amendment very, very dearly. I just do want to ask you a few questions because I've been very impressed from the very beginning of this, looking at how you are doing this gun range and all the research that you've done on safety, noise. I mean, I've just been extremely impressed to be able to work with you to bring this forward in Rapid. And I think this is something that's very important. I think it'd be something very important for gun safety. So go ahead, if you just don't mind telling a little bit about your business.
Sure. Thank you, Councilman Roberts and ladies and gentlemen. Yes, there's going to be a brilliant outdoor range near Rapid City, largest in the country. I applaud it. It's a great project. But this is an indoor range, and it's meant to be convenient to the population of Rapid City. A lot of things have changed in the last 2 decades. I grew up in the 60s, early 70s, and I can tell you, for many of us, you bought your first gun sort of like you bought your first chainsaw. You bought it because you needed it. You were going to go hunting or something, and you didn't really have to learn then to use it because you'd already used your parents, or if you did have to use it, to learn to use it, you got somebody to show you how. But since 2020, 5% of the American population, 17 million people, bought a gun for the first time. 20% of American households bought a gun, many of them not their first, since 2020. 45% of American households have a gun in them. But that firearm went from being something you bought because you had an immediate need for it, generally, like I say, you were going to go hunt or you were going to take up a sport, And it became something people bought because they're kind of uncomfortable because the pandemic and the civil unrest after that, and I don't just, uncertainty, weather events, and the world doesn't seem quite so cozy as it once did. And so people just bought a gun because they felt it was kind of an insurance policy, just maybe they'd need it. Or maybe something would change and they wouldn't be able to buy it later, so they bought it. But they don't know how to use it. The training's not readily available. And shooting gun it's a perishable skill. It's like bowling or darts or something. You don't do it for a while and you get rusty. You're not so good at it. So what our facility will do is provide training, and it will provide a means to practice, and it will be convenient. It'll be on your way between work and home. It'll be a 10-minute jog over there. It's the idea is that it is not so very different than going to the health club and staying in shape. So please, an outdoor range is a wonderful thing, but it is limited by weather, by climate, and by darkness. An indoor range is not. So we mean to be convenient, accessible. No, you won't hear it outside. Nobody's going to walk into this range carrying a long gun over their shoulder. You'll need to have it cased or legally carried when you come in. You'll be loading it only on the firing line. You can't walk around within the range with the gun. We're heavily regulated by the EPA. We're going to be regulated by our insurance carrier. And there's a pretty extensive and well thought out schedule of requirements we need to meet before we're going to be able to allow this. And those are all in the ordinance that you're voting on tonight. So,
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Looks like Community Development Director Vicki Fisher would like to chime in.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to make it clear that this is an ordinance amendment that would allow an indoor shooting range with the criteria set forward. It is not specifically for this applicant at this location. And so consideration of what it is that his project would bring forward, while I think that for the most part it does meet the design elements of what we're proposing before you, but it was not written so that he could do business in Rapid City. It was written with careful thought, collaboration with other communities. We vetted a lot of this with members of the police department and the fire department to ensure that it were meeting the safety needs that the city needed. In the particular location that this gentleman is proposing, it would appear that it is going to require a conditional use permit, and that will be brought forward before the Planning Commission for public review if that church is still operational on the backside of the building. So we will have an opportunity to look more at detail of his plan if that should be the case.
Thank you. We appreciate your work on this. Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay, motion passes with 2 noes from Evans and Pettigrew. That ends the non-consent public hearing items, and we will now move to executive session. Do we have a motion?
Motion to go into executive session.
Got a motion by Roberts, second by Ham, to go into executive session.
You are the
We're in
last
executive
party in
session.
the conference. You will hear silence until the conference begins.
Motion by Roberts, second by Stroman to come out of executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next one, we move to item 40, the bill list for September 18th, 2023. With that, we'll go to our Finance Director, Daniel Ainsley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The total bills for tonight are $13,428,219.47.
Anybody want to move to approve? All right, we got a motion by Roberts, second by Ham. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion to adjourn? And a motion by Roberts, second by Sechrist to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
That's all from health insurance. It's usually about 8, isn't it?
That's pretty good.
Oh, is it? Health insurance.
Look at you. Look at you with your health insurance and everything.